4D opening mummy coffin acrylic nail art tutorial by Hotpinkzebrapolish. Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to be showing you this really cool 4D mummy design that is in a coffin. So it's a really elegant, very designed coffin that opens up and then there's a mummy inside. My very first 4D design that I had ever thought of, ever even fantasized about was a coffin. And I did that a couple years ago. I want to say it was just about 2 years ago now. And that is kind of the first design that opened up this whole world to me of trying to make things that are 4D. So I will put a link to that video in the description box below. So check that out if you're interested. And don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future videos as well. Begin by creating your background color with an overlay of a gold acrylic. This is a really nice metallic gold. I know I've got a couple gold acrylics that are called warm gold or summer gold or something. And they're more of like a, I don't know, just like a shimmery kind of a orangey yellow color. They're not really like a gold. So try to find one that's a nice metallic color. And then cover that with an overlay of clear acrylic just to protect the gold. I know that this one that I have, if you do file over, it really loses its metallic quality and it gets really kind of almost gray looking. It's a little bit strange, but just do that so you really protect it and protect the color. And then file that into shape with your E-file. Make sure that you are using a nice coarse bit to start with to really get rid of any bulk. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to make a little pattern for my coffin. So I started out by just making little squares basically. So do you remember back in school when you had to make like all those shapes that would then turn into a cube or you know, trapezoid or whatever shapes it was you try to make? Same concept. So you do use all those crazy things that you did in second grade. Anyways, after that, set a nail form backing on top of it and then sculpt out each of those little shapes you made with more of that gold color acrylic. There are two shapes, however, that you do need to make two of. So that one that I just made, that second close to square, that second rectangle, and then this long bar shaped one. You need to make two of each of those. So those ones you're going to need for each side of the coffin. Now the one that's at the very top and the one at the very bottom, you only need one of because there's only one top and one bottom. But the rest you do need to make duplicates. So there is the one at the bottom. So now after you have those four done, go back through and just move to a separate section on your nail form backing to remake the last two that you need to do again. So there we go. There's the second bar shape. And as you're doing this, try to use relatively firm acrylic. I know for me when I'm sculpting on top of the nail form backing, that's such a slippery surface that the acrylic spreads out really quickly and it just makes it so that it gets super thin. So you want to make sure that you are using acrylic that's a little bit more polymer heavy so that it isn't going to just get so paper thin like a potato chip and snap. Then I'm going to take and I'm going to start gluing my sides to the nail. So there's the first one. I started at the tip of the nail and I'm going to work my way up. So I glued down the bottom of the coffin and then I'm going to do each side. So there's the one side. My glue dried before I got to the point where I set down the side, so I had to add some more. And as you can see, there are definite gaps in the sides of the coffin. In the corners, you can see right through it. Not exactly what you want, but we are going to be filling in all of those later. So if you do have weird gaps like I do, don't worry about it, and chances are you are going to have some gaps. So don't sweat it. It can all get fixed. Plus, you may notice that the top edge of the coffin is not even. Same thing, all of that will be fixed and will all get straightened out. So now after all the sides are glued down, I'm going to fill in my gaps with some more of the gold acrylic. Like I said, everything does get fixed up, I promise. So just take more of the gold and just layer it on there and just kind of, you know, sort of fill it in, spread it out, get it so it's all nice and smoothed out. As you are working on it, just kind of keep going from space to space and make sure that you are looking at the inside of the coffin and the outside of the coffin, especially if you have any bigger holes that you are filling. As you press it to smooth it out on the outside, it's going to push it into the inside. So you have to smooth it from both sides to make sure that all of a sudden you don't have weird lumps going on the inside of your coffin. Since this design is crucial to have it looking nice and smooth from both sides. After you have all that done and it's a lot more sturdy, you can take a really fine barrel bit that it has really straight sides and you can go ahead and just sort of smooth out the edges of your coffin. The first coffin that I made back when, I used a hand file and it took forever to do this. Way faster with an E-file, but you can use a hand file for everything if that's what you have. Go ahead and dust over your coffin to get rid of any dust left over from the filing of the sides. And then flip that nail over the top on your piece of paper once again and trace the shape of the coffin. So there's your shape that you have going for you. Set your nail form backing back on top of it and sculpt out that shape, which we'll be making for your lid. So this way, if you do it the way that I did, where you sculpt on top of what you were working on or what you already made, you know that your coffin lid is going to be the same shape as your coffin. Even if you look at your pattern and you say, well, this is the pattern I made, you never know if things turned out exactly the way you planned them, unless you're a construction worker and you've got blueprints. We don't exactly have blueprints. We have things that we're making as we go. So we need to make sure that you kind of match it to what you actually have on the nail. Then take and glue a little teeny tiny magnet to the side of your coffin. Add a little bit of acrylic to that to make sure it's really going to stay securely in place. That bit of nail glue isn't quite secure enough to hold it there permanently. Then take more nail glue and glue 2 beads to the other side of the coffin. Make sure you're gluing your beads so that the hole is running the lengthwise, so that if you wanted, you could stick a piece of wire all the way up through both beads, and it just keeps going. That way you know that your hinge is going to open properly. Secure those beads with a touch more of the gold acrylic. Make sure you don't fill in the holes of them. Cut 2 fine pieces of wire off and then bend those 2 wires into U shapes. So just take, and I bend them over a fingernail. Works perfectly. Grab those 2 U shapes and string them through your beads. The beads I was using, just a side note, they are gold. If I had gold wire, I would have used that as well, but I don't. I only have silver in this size. So I was like, well, you know what? Silver works. No one really sees that anyway, except for just a touch of it. Add some nail glue to those tails of the wire, and then set the little coffin lid that you made before on top of those wires, and they will glue to the lid, and you will have a little working hinge. Then take more of the gold acrylic, and right now I'm just tacking it in place. It was kind of a hasty tack. So then place another magnet on top of the one that's already on the side of the coffin, and then attach it to the lid with just a little trail of more of that gold acrylic. So use a thicker bead there so that it kind of just floats over if there's a gap, and it'll grab onto that magnet for you. Open up your coffin, add more acrylic to the inside of the lid. Like I said, that first bit that I added was mostly just to make sure that the glue doesn't give out. But for this one, I'm going to take and I'm going to smooth it out so that it doesn't look so lumpy underneath there. And also with this will add so much strength. That lid was really quite thin, so I want to make sure I add enough acrylic that it's going to be nice and strong for me. Then with white acrylic, I'm going to be filling in my little mummy, adding my mummy inside here. So just take, it is a very rough outline of a person is what you're going for. And really quickly, I just want to go back over my first coffin with you guys. So the first coffin I made, I've had a lot of people say that's the first video that they watched from me. It is one of my absolute favorite videos that I made. And the first time I made a hinge was in that video. And I worked on the concepts and the techniques for that and how I was going to make it for months. It was such a huge thing. And I consulted every person I knew who would listen to me to see if they would have ideas. So I just want to go over and just say, I am so proud of that video, and I hope you guys watch it and know that it was like my first 40 thing, and it was a huge turning point in my nail artist career. So if you guys are interested in it and you haven't seen it yet, please check out that video. There will be a link to it in the description box below. It is one of my absolute favorites, and a video that anytime somebody is wondering what it is that 4D nail art means, the movement, that video very clearly shows what you can do with nails if you want things to move. And really, I think kind of is the turning point into where I really started investigating all of the possibilities there are with nail art. It's not just 3D. You can make things that do crazy stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that quick. And yeah. So anyways, now on top of your coffin, you're going to want to decorate it. This is definitely, for me, the most enjoyable part of this design. I had so much fun painting the top of it. So I took and I used yellow, green, blue, orange, white, and black. Yeah, those are the colors I used. Use really rich colors, nothing that's too pastel, nothing too neon. Try to use colors that are very deep looking. And so then just go over and paint your little design. Make sure you do include a section of it that looks like a face near the top of the coffin. This is just a beautiful design that you can really take wherever you want with it. There's a lot of options you can go. I would make sure it's very well patterned. It's very visually, it's got a lot going on. You want it to be very decorative. And you don't have to fill in the entire thing. I have a couple sections where I just left that were gold. You can still use those and still decorate them with a pattern if you'd like, but you don't necessarily need to fill in everything with a different color other than the gold. So there's my little face on there, very simple face. You don't have to go too detailed, doesn't have to have, a pupil and eyelashes and everything. Just, simple little eyes and nose and little patterns and everything. Just keep filling it in until you're happy with it. I know that I kept doing stuff. I'm like, oh, I need to add this here, or I need to add that there. And You can do the same pattern I did, or you can have fun with it and just create your own. Then I'm going to take and just outline with a black line going around the outside edge of the coffin, and then take and I just added a very simple little angled line pattern, or stripes, you want to call them stripes, going around the outside of it just to kind of separate it so you can really see the difference where the coffin pops off the background. Otherwise it just kind of all blends together, and that's no fun at all. So you want to make sure that you can see it. Then take some diluted black paint and shadow around on the inside of the coffin, as well as around the mummy and a little bit on the mummy, like under his arms and around the feet a touch. And then take little skinny black lines to add the difference, where you can see all the layers of fabric that are overlapping. So just go through and add line after line after line. This really, you can do it quickly, but I would recommend using a very little bit of paint on your brush and dipping often so that you don't get too thick of lines where you don't want them. Then take some gel sealer and apply it over the outside of your coffin and over the background of the nail to make sure that all of that gold really has a nice shine to it. And then matte top coat over the over the inside of the coffin and your mummy. And that is it. I hope you guys like this video as much as I do. I really enjoyed kind of redoing one of my favorite designs, because back when I'm looking at this nail now, I'm like, wow, I would change a lot about this. So I hope you guys like this, and please share any recreations with me on Facebook or Instagram. I'd love to see them, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!